So Tom's new mobile game, Ninja Suffering, came out today. And I would love to just make a video about this game and just to play the game and to talk about what I like about it. But it's pretty simple.
I didn't know you could hit the ceiling.
No, I think I died because of stamina, right?
Oh.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about game design for a little bit. Even though I'm not somebody who would technically consider myself to be a gamer, when I used to play League of Legends, I was in the League of Legends club at my university for a short while. I would always main a support. And I kind of was like directed into that position by my ex-boyfriend who had taught me how to play the game. But, you know, I quickly became, you know, aware of the fact that guys just get their girlfriends to play support because they want somebody to play with them, and that girls always play support. And I like to play support, and I don't think of it as a sexist role or that I'm good at it because I am a girl. I think about it because I've always seen myself as a supporter, as somebody who encourages other people and oversees things. And I mean, I guess that goes back into my neurotype, being an overseer or a shadow guardian. That is something that I relate to a whole lot and identify as. I'm an older sister. Yeah, I just want to support the people in my life, and I love having friends who are creators. You know, I always want to promote Ash and Michelle's content when they make things and they come on my show. And I like to have people on my show who are working on things. And as somebody who helps Conrad with his videos a lot, I just really kind of identify myself as somebody who, you know, works with people, wants to support other creators, and always is hustling. And I've come to realize after months of listening to Ethan Ralph's The Kill stream that I really respect the amount of hustle he has and the ability to kind of negotiate through so many different relationships with people. Even people who have very different ideologies and who normally wouldn't like each other, who normally would hate the existence of one another. He has on radical spokespeople on both sides of the political spectrum, and he's always hospitable to those people and you know, thinks about how they make things from a creator or influencer perspective. I haven't really listened to the Kill stream a lot for a couple of months after Ralph kind of had his alcohol relapse, and I do think that it's a little bit difficult for me to watch somebody kind of struggle with that, but I still support him. I'm still a patron, and I still like to watch the show when, you know, Dick is on or there's an interesting lineup. But I feel like I've kind of grown out of the Kill stream, and that I've taken that kind of appreciation I had for Ralph and I applied that into my own show, but tried to do it better. Yeah, so what I'm saying is tomorrow I'm gonna have my good old friend Tommy Oliver, who made this game, come on my show, and we could talk about it. And also in this video, I'm going to go over Ash, friend of my my podcast, or live stream, I guess. It's so hard for me to distinguish the two because I listen to most live streams as podcasts, I guess. But I'm going to be going over one of his creations. Actually, it's an alternative way to score anime. Superior, or it's like an alternative to the MAL system. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. This game is pretty fucking dope. It's hard to talk and play though. My high score is 300. So hopefully I can improve my high score by the end of the night. And also hopefully
Hi Hi everybody, welcome to day 8 of May. I'm here with a special guest, Digibro, and today we are going to be taking a deeper look into Ash Vampire's Mal replacement chart. If you haven't seen his video yet, I'm going to link it in the description. You should go ahead and check that out first, or you could try to jump right into it, but a lot of the terms need to be explained, and a lot of the way this is calculated will probably need to be explained before you... What are you doing?
Your eyes need to have light, or else everybody's just gonna look at me, because I'm way more lit.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. I'll just come in more and be like...
No, you gotta have light on your face, or else everybody's gonna look at
my
me.
hat!
Hide me, hide me.
Oh, I'm not wearing much makeup. Oh my gosh.
You look great.
I also want to show off
You're the
Azumi!
Look, I'm
Play
hidden.
the game. That's also...
Don't worry about me.
What are you doing?
I'm hiding until you're done with the intro. So they pay attention to your face.
Yeah, basically, check out Ash Vampire's video if you haven't. If you've seen the stream from a couple of days ago where we were talking to Ash about his chart. If you haven't seen that, I really recommend you watch either of those so you will know what is up. Because a lot of these have, you know, definitions that you would want to have verified before you try doing this yourself, because there is a lot of math and a lot of words you gotta know how to do. So,
Alright.
so Conrad is gonna
What show do we want to do
go
first?
first. Do one you don't like first.
A show I don't like. Alright.
Mhm.
Well, let's start with the Astra score, right?
That's an interesting one to do first.
Oh, no. Should we do... I mean, let's just sort out online, right? That's the one I'm most famous... Oh, shit. I fucking hit enter instead of... Okay, so... I think this is the visuals section, right? That's the phrase I deleted.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I didn't really
Seems like
study it.
Or no, because this says art.
I have no idea.
So then this must be...
It's just a title, so it doesn't matter.
Pacing? Or... No. It says Directon, by the way. Directon. So we're gonna go ahead and...
So yeah, we got this this Mal calculator was created by Boba Bickle.
Is there a way to revert to a previous state?
Yeah, just backspace.
There we go.
Animation.
It is it's animation.
It's basically the same thing. This was created by Boba Bickle. Amazing job. This is pretty cool because I don't know if I would have attempted this without some kind of calculator.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Ash Vampire's video explaining how this thing works, which is like an hour long, you'll probably be most benefited by watching that before this.
That's what I said. The link's gonna be down there.
Because we're not gonna explain it all.
No shit, because like I don't really know if I want to explain it all.
But all you really need to know is that each score goes from -10 to +10, and you can do decimals if you want. That's all you really need to know. It's as scalable as you want it to be.
Oh yeah, you can do decimals. I'm not doing decimals.
I mean, it would only become relevant once you had done like I think you would have to go through all the shows and then go through them all again to really get the decimal placements you wanted.
Right.
And even then, you'd have to obsess over it if you wanted to get to multiple decimal placements, but we're not going to do all that. In fact, we're probably not going to do any decimals at all, because fuck that shit.
I mean, for me,
unless it
I
feels really
don't
necessary.
think that on the spot I can decide the difference between
I mean,
a 5 and a 5.2, honestly.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about this scale, and I don't know if Ash evolved this partially out of the scale that I copied from Bacaraptor, which basically goes, there's pluses and minuses. So it's like, you know, to be in the middle is to be mediocre. But Bacaraptor has no 0 on his scale because it forces you to make a decision. There is a 0 on this scale because you are factoring in whether each of these things matters to you or not. Because if it doesn't matter, it might just be a 0 inherently.
If value is 0, leave space blank. So you just ignore what is a 0.
So like,
he changed it though. It didn't used to be that way because it would, you know, skew the results. So he just made it, So.
It would unnecessarily skew the results to say that you cared about every single element if you really don't. And or if the show just doesn't, if there's nothing remarkable about it, that like it's not
it's
good
very
or
likely
bad.
that you'll have more zeros than things scored. If
particularly if you're not doing this like insanely in depth, you know, like
right.
If I was truly trying to categorically decide like what is the best anime via this scale, like I would go out of my way to figure out what show had the best flow of animation, which is very hard to even, like, what do you mean by flow?
Right.
Like, what the fuck does that mean? What does animation flow mean? Like, on the basis of the entire show? How well does it all flow into each other? Is that what you're saying? I mean, most anime I would put a 0 in that category as just, like, I can't conceive of flow in the animation of something that matters in a long show.
Different than direction? Because I mean,
know.
good direction would encompass all of this, right?
I would think
consistency and direction. I think.
I mean, it means animation direction specifically, but yes, that would encompass the other things in the animation category.
Yeah.
So, I would think that.
Like the lighting, which is completely a directorial decision. So...
Like flow and what the fuck does flow even mean?
I really do not.
We should have.
Like
I mean, admittedly, we did not watch his whole video where he would have gone into more detail about what each of these things mean. So maybe we should take our own advice.
We watched it.
I didn't watch the whole thing.
We watched him describe like literally almost all of the terms.
Well.
So.
In any case, I'm gonna go ahead and just. Put the flow, I don't care. Consistency for SAO is pretty low.
The flow of SAO.
I would say I'd give it like a -2 for consistency. It's not much worse than most anime, but it's noticeable. Direction, animation direction. I hate the way the direction the animation is directed in this fucking show because like the mentality of it is basically like most of the time characters are just sitting around doing fucking nothing. Occasionally there's like fan service shots, but when there actually is animation, it's all just like just flipping around, characters just like Star Wars fucking prequel shit, like lightsaber battles, which I fucking hate. So yeah, I would say I would give it like a -5 for direction of the animation. Lighting, I have no particular problems with the lighting in SAO. Actually, I think I'd probably give it a positive point for lighting, particularly in the first season. I feel like that was a strong point of early digital.
Would you only give it a
lighting
1
effects?
then?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal. Like this show's way better lighting, you know.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I just like what is a 1 to me is just kind of like it's just slightly more positive.
Slightly noteworthy. Slightly a positive. It maybe gave me one good feel about the show one time, you know?
Okay.
One.
I guess that would
maybe one time I went, huh, that's well lit. And that's my you know. Alright. Character art. The Sword Art Online character designs.
Alright.
They're very generic. I mean, if I'm thinking about, like, you got Kirito's sister. She's really fucking hot.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck?
Suguha is really fucking hot. Asuna's pretty hot. You know, Kirito just looks like a generic ass. The guys all suck. The girls are memorable. I mean, the character designs are one of the best things about the show.
I know, that's one of the reasons people probably
I'm
watch
gonna give
the
that
show.
a 4.
Colors
are pretty decent in SAO. I'd say that's one of its strong points. I think I'd give that like a 3. Backgrounds, like there are some iconic backgrounds in SAO, like the actual Aincrad castle, but like most of it is very generic. I think I could give that like 1 extra point. Props. Actually, the swords are fucking ill in SAO. Like, I had that whole video about how just the one image of the 2 swords crossed was, like, better than anything in the Asterisk War.
It's interesting because, like, the word props is, like, very confounding to me.
Really funny.
It's a weird choice.
It's a very strange choice of words, but I mean, like, yeah. I mean, because does costume design count in this, or would that count in character design? Like, no, exactly. Like, is the sword was probably designed by the character designer,
exactly.
Right? So, but
that's why it's just like.
Oh, it's because now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, everything that's not a main character sucks dick and is awful. So, like, any sword that wasn't part of a character design was probably not noteworthy.
But I don't think it was designed by the character designer. I think it's just whatever the animators.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so would I count it as prop? Like, would I give it points for props on the basis that the character designer drew cool swords for Kirito and Asuna?
I think you should also consider the fact too that it's not consistent You know?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I
think
feel
that,
like I already accounted for it in giving the characters a 4.
Yeah, okay, then you should just
Is what
do
I'm
it.
trying to say.
Yeah, okay. I
So,
understand.
like, all the other props are nothing burger, so...
Nothing burger.
Oh, wait, you're not supposed to put an actual 0 in. You're meant to
Supposed
just
to-
leave it blank.
What does it do to the number?
It changed it. Because
Okay.
it factors it as a, as
The audio.
counting. Okay, integration. It's just typed integration. So, let's go ahead and fix that.
Oh,
Integration. The audio is I mean, it's a Yuki Kajiura soundtrack. I'm a huge fan.
yeah. The music has its own category, so this is just
It has
the sounds.
oh.
This is
just like
another
sound
reason
effects.
why it's like, why does this have its own category?
Well, it shouldn't be called audio. It should be called sound effects, right? Shouldn't it just be called like sound design or something? Like
right.
the sound effects are generic in SAO. I'm sure some of them are shitty, so I'm gonna give it a -1. And derivation obviously would be like
How would
a
you
negative-
define that? What is a derivation?
it's how derivative it is. So like the more negative would mean more derivative, positive would mean less derivative
Of what?
of everything else. Like SAO uses a lot of like okay, I'm surprised there's not derivation listed in
It's
art or
just
animation.
interesting
Where
for
were
me
those in that?
because
Why was derivation not included in the art or animation categories?
Wait, isn't there also supposed to be the meta category?
Yeah,
Is
where the
this-
hell's the meta category? Is this calculator incomplete?
I don't know.
I mean, like, I don't remember if he like. Why would I mean, I understand that putting derivation in sound design is because like a lot of shows use stock sound effects. So if that really bothers you, you would give it negative points for derivation. But wouldn't the same thing be true of art and animation? Like, wouldn't it be the exact same? Because I would have given
Right.
SAO way more negative scores in those categories. Like, I gave the characters a 4, but the fact that they're so derivative is a negative, you know? So with sound design, I think I would give it a -1 as well.
It's just also kind of like a lot
Meanwhile,
of them
music
just
has
use
tons of depth.
stock stuff, but if it doesn't distract from the show, like why would you score it negatively? I don't know. Like with sound
Not
effects.
the complete chart Ash made, just the basic idea. Just download the file and fill in blank chart. So is there like more stuff missing than...
It's the meta elements are all missing.
Is that the only thing missing though? I mean, wouldn't that be like a pretty heavy thing we should factor in here?
Yeah, we can pull up the chart.
Should we just like restart this and do it with the chart?
Let me see how much of a difference this is. Show. Okay. This is it. There's the mechanical and the meta elements.
Okay, so how different is it?
I literally think the only difference
Art,
is
character
the
design,
doesn't
colors,
have meta.
background, props, animation, flow, consistency, direction, composition, lighting. There's definitely stuff missing, right? Because lighting and composition were not in the animation category before. Art, animation, music, writing. Sound doesn't even exist on this chart. That motherfucker made that shit up.
Boba Bickle, why couldn't you just make this? I need an explanation of why we should be using your chart.
The
That's
only
what I
place where
need.
derivation appears in his is in the writing and in meta narrative, which basically means the general
Okay.
amount that it derivates.
Well, what we could do is we could score it on Boba Bickles and then score it on Ash
It makes
Vampire.
no sense. Boba totally changed things about it that are fundamental to the chart because he obviously disagreed with it and wanted to make his own like updates to
Yeah.
it, right? Like he was like, "Oh, you can't have music and not sound design." Like, I mean, what is under music? Mixing, variants, OP/ED, tone, integration. Like, but yeah, there is no sound design category on here. So I mean, Boba was right to do that, I guess. But there's other stuff that's different about his
my
where
gosh.
he added
I
derivation
just
into
hate
that
the
as well.
idea of doing
Oh,
this
no.
as a way to...
No, this should be the video. It should
Oh
just be.
my gosh.
This was. Do you know how long it would take us to actually do this? Think about
No,
it.
because Ash
It was
said
15 minutes of
he
us
said he
just
was
doing
gonna
the first
do his
couple.
whole mouth chart, and then once he realized how long it was, he did like a third of it.
He only did
but-
3 shows and it took him an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But
I
he was
was.
also explaining it.
Baby, we were 13 minutes in and I had only done the first section of the first show. Because I was also explaining my logic. Because you have to explain your logic. It just takes
my
way too
gosh.
fucking long and it's just not. It doesn't work if you don't value exactly these things and only these things, because you can always think of more shit that you would break it down into. Every
You're
individual
so
person
red.
would have their own version
You're
of this.
so
It just makes no fucking, like, it won't benefit anyone but Ash, because he's the only one who cares about exactly these things. And would put it into
Absolutely.
those words.
I think it's
I would
so-
never put a show into these words.
Me neither!
Why would
And the words are
derivation
so
not be in the art
important.
category?
I know. The fucking props. That's
Why
how
is there no sound design?
I haven't really even considered every single category, like, in my mind, how
Look,
they relate
the
to
only
one
way
another.
this would make
But
sense
I
is
get
if
down to props, and I'm like, why is it its own category?
I
like,
said
what
it-
do you mean?
I said it on your podcast, I'll say it again here. The only way this chart makes sense is if you did it by the actual staffer roles on the show. You rate the sound design, you rate the music, you rate the character design, the mechanical design, the, like, whatever roles existed on the show that somebody filled, you rate those roles. That's the only way that you can break it down objectively, because otherwise all of this is so vague that it all intersects with each other. There's no division between character
really
designs, color,
appreciate
background, and
the
fucking
idea
props,
of,
you
like,
know?
a grading rubric, but you're not grading the show. You're rating the show what you would score it. You're not giving it like a point, you know. You're not giving it like a thing out of 100 on Mal. But here it is. It's like assigning a grade to it. But I really just feel like rating an anime is like not so. It's not as helpful to give it a specific score, I think. But I think it's cool to, like, literally be like, oh, I never thought about the tone of the fucking music in the song.
That's, I think, okay, what he's trying to do with this is good. Like, getting
Absolutely.
people who don't think about this shit at all to think about it. But I already think about this shit. This is not enough. This is not, like...
No, I agree. That's
It's
kind of
too
my
vague,
problem
it's
with
too
it.
weird,
The
it's...
fact that there's no outfit design on here is just like, dude, that's one of the primary reasons I come to the show.
I mean,
And it's
again, would
very
that be in
separate from
character
character
design?
design.
Right, like, there's a difference between just the character's body and the outfits they wear, you know? Like, and they're not always necessarily handled by the same person.
I mean,
there are
if you're
shows where
gonna
there are
have,
roles
like,
that
the
don't
meta
exist in other
element of the
shows.
show too, you also have to talk about it marketing.
Like, think
Like,
about...
how was the show? Were you exposed to any marketing of the show? Any merch?
Yeah.
Any promotion? Did they do any, like, tie-ins with, like, social media when they were promoting the
Right.
show? Like, that's a very big part of the meta element. I think if you're gonna be so specific, like, this is not enough at all.
It also is confusing because, like, you can say, like, meta staff, right? Like, well, okay, like, there's the meta fact that I like this staff, but the staff also made the thing. So, like, am I rating the staff for their performance, or just, like, I guess it's
Well,
exclusively on the fact that I care about them outside of the show, right? But, like, how much that affects my appreciation of the show? Again, this thing, just the sheer vagueness of it, the fact that you would need to have Ash literally explain to you what each category means, and then you'd have to limit yourself to operating within those categories in that way for this to work. And it's just like, maybe I would get a score that's similar to the one I would give the show, but why would I bother going through this process when there are other processes I could go through, such as, I don't know, just thinking about it for a second and just being like, yeah, that show's a 10, you know?
Right.
On which one? The calculator or through...
Yeah, the calculator. We already
Alright.
were doing it. I want to know.
Let's see
I
how
want
it
to
happens.
see how this kind of, like,
Oh,
this
boy.
method of
Alright, well, this is not Ash's actual
mathematical
chart.
method. That's
This
okay.
is the
It has a
Boba
lot of the
Bickle
same
reimagining with
terminology.
no meta,
Yeah.
even though meta would be a huge factor on Ash's chart if it was in here. Like, if the meta element was here, SAO would come out with a positive
Oh my
score.
gosh.
I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I think it would actually be... Actually, that makes me more interested in looking at it through this one, but I don't want to have to calculate the fucking endpoints. Alright. Mixing. of the music, it's poor, right? I would give it a -2.
It's 8 of 8.
It's the kind of thing that, like, I wouldn't ordinarily factor the mixing into my score unless it was egregiously bad. And, like, in SAO, it's not good. I guess it's a factor. I guess it affects my experience of the show.
Yeah.
I am the type of person who notices things like the music mixing.
Absolutely.
Variants.
I think
I don't
after we
care.
do this one, we should just do like something that we like.
OPED, I'm indifferent towards the SAO OPEDs. They're fine.
I want to do a movie because
Tone.
I'm curious about how movies would stack up.
The
Because that's
tone
kind of
is
one thing that I talked
fine.
about Ash with, is
Integration
like,
is-
I
Probably
honestly
like a
think that movies would
middle
have
ground.
higher scores.
Wait, there's OPED and then OP and ED. Alright, well, forget about that. Alright. Writing, narrative.
Boba Bickle!
-10. The narrative is incompetent. Absolutely incompetent. Characters, which is spelled incorrectly.
There's like other pages to this spreadsheet.
You can tell he
what...
made this just like... I can tell that what happened was he got inspired to do this like during the stream, stayed up all night working on it, and then got tired and stopped. And also it says Spiral Experiments Lane at the top.
No, this is...
What's going on? What did you...
These are all of the slides.
Oh, it's examples.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just different, like, there's
Yeah.
different pages on it. That's kind of one of the things I love about the spread.
So the characters
But I have Excel. I really should
are
have just opened it on
fucking
Excel.
terrible, so they get a -. I mean, I like Asuna, so I'll just give it a -8 for characters.
It's really bad.
That improved the score though.
I know. It's at the max bad.
Meta-narrative is actually, I would actually give it 1 point because I find the overall weird meta-narrative of the story about Kirito, like, the Kirito's like going through PTSD, and like, I wanted to rewrite SAO because of the fact that I thought that there is an interesting meta-narrative in there that could be turned into a good story.
Yeah.
But the plot, how is plot different from narrative? What is the difference? I'm not scoring that because I don't believe it's different. The tone, it definitely gets a negative,
Oh my gosh.
like, 7 for just being... No, actually, it gets a -10 for tone. The tone is fucked in the first arc. The pacing is absolutely fucked, so that's a -10 as well. Progression, -10. It's a bit... Actually, I'll give that a -8 because it does eventually progress. But, and derivation... Honestly, tempting to give it points for how fucking crazy it actually gets. But since it's mostly generic, I'm just going to go to -1 for that. And we'll go ahead and move on. So it gets a -6.5 for writing. That's honestly much better than I would have expected. But, you know, that one meta-narrative point really helped it out.
Yeah. It really did.
Wait, characters already was a... I think Boba Bickle has misunderstood something fundamentally about this chart. Like, characters is meant to not be... Wait. Like, does this feed back into this? Because this is supposed to feed back into that, right? Like, the subcategories of characters add up to the character score, which then would be the one that you're supposed to put in the category above that, right? That's the way it's supposed to work on the original thing. So, like...
That's interesting.
So I could just calculate the character score and then make that the score up there.
Yeah, you could do that, I guess, but then it would also be counting its place.
Well, no, I just changed that score to whatever it pops out down here from me typing
Yeah,
in.
but then you have a whole category that's getting totaled at the end for the end score that has already been counted.
You're right. I mean, it really doesn't even make sense to
You
go
could
through
just
this
leave-
category then.
you could
I can just leave them all blank and
or
just conclude
leave
that...
characters blank if you wanted to leave characters blank.
I guess I could... I mean, well, it's a calculator, right? Won't it just automatically output the score of whatever I put in the other things?
I think so.
Yeah, so we'll just skip over that.
Okay.
But their
Wow, it's
purpose...
back.
They just get -10s in everything. So, Yeah. I mean, I guess they get positive points for purpose. I don't really consider that a positive. Like, I would just zero that. But, like, there is something... Like, see, this breaks down to me where it's like, okay, purpose, growth, consistency, derivation. I give them all negative 10s in this show, but I still give the characters a negative 8 because, like, I like Asuna and Yui just conceptually. It's nothing to do with their writing quality. Like, I don't know if I'd put that in meta. Like, should there be a meta category for characters? You know?
Narrative.
Again, like, there's just, you could endlessly go into depth with these things, so it's confusing to stop at these endpoints for me, you know? Theming, internal consistency, negative, actually, the internal consistency of the theming is one of the few things the show almost gets right, because it does continue to, like, riff on certain themes. It just is very poor at actually explaining those themes. I'd still give it, like, a negative 4. Logical progression, negative 10. Absolutely retarded. Tension, negative 10. Absolutely baffling. Catharsis, negative 10. Anybody who's seen the iCred arc can definitely tell you that.
Absolutely.
Nuance, negative 10. Absolutely none exists. And complexity, negative 8. I don't know if complexity is a positive, though. Like, is complexity automatically a positive?
I feel like catharsis is the same, too. Like, why with that?
I don't think it's going to give us a score until we have a score in the characters category. So I'm afraid we're just going to have to go ahead and give it all the negative 10s that it deserves. And the difference is just... Alright, so its score is a negative 4.011904762.
That's like my GPA. I'm joking.
Which I think is like a 4 or a 5 on Mal, according to his scale,
There's
right?
actually, the converter is right here.
Oh, the Mal converter. There you go.
Yeah.
So, negative 4.5 would be like a 3 to a 4 range, right? Like a strong 3 to a light 4.
Oh my gosh. I really want to do Precure.
I mean, that's pretty much fair to what I would probably score SAO. Although, again, I think if the meta category was there, it might even raise the score.
I want to do Precure just so I can do one too. Should I do this one or should I just do the Boba Bickle one?
Whichever one you would rather.
Because this is like a lot. But I think
the problem
it would
is having to do all the math, you know, after you've given the score.
Don't you just, isn't it easy math? Like, isn't it just adding?
It's adding and then dividing by the number.
You're right.
So, I mean, you can do it with a calculator, but...
Yeah, there's a calculator on the computer.
Do you want to do it?
I want to do it. I really want to.
Alright, go for it.
Every little thing I do.
Dude, that's been stuck in my head all day.
You don't wanna lose it again, but I'm not like them, baby. When you finally get to love somebody, guess what? It's gonna be me. Oh, baby,
Of course.
how was I supposed to know?
We're gonna do Futari wa Precure. Yeah, I'm doing this with the trackpad.
Oh, damn, you actually got over Photoshop and shit.
Yeah, I'm not that lazy. Alright. So I don't score the mechanical or meta-narrative, right? Or the meta.
No, that's the final score based on...
So source. The source is, it's original. What do I do?
0. There is no source.
Okay. I guess that's right. Time, what does that mean?
The time when it came out, that it wasn't meaningful
out?
to you. Like
No, it had, I watched it years later. History?
Okay, you have your history with the show, I guess.
The history with the show.
Or maybe the show itself's history? Like the history of the
10,
show.
Dude. Oh, I want pink. What the fuck?
Wait. Why is the history of this show a 10?
Precure?
Yeah. Of the first one in particular.
Oh, it's only letting me do grayscale. Because it's fucking Precure. It launched one of the greatest anime franchises in anime. It's one of the most successful anime shows.
Alright, yeah. Then give it a...
I think in Precure, it's everything.
Give it a 10.
Futari wa Precure is a fucking amazing first season.
Studio. That would be, of course, Toei.
Toei is a good boy. I love Toei. I'm gonna give that shit. Toei is a good. I don't have any problems with them. 5. They're good. They're cool. I like Toei. They have they don't have Futari wa Precure up on YouTube, but they do have, I think they put like Kamen Rider or something up in like all of its entirety. And it's like, the staff, yeah, the director of that did that Crayon Kingdom show, right?
Of the first Precure?
No, it was the character designer of the first Precure.
You're getting your wires crossed, but
No, the character designer did the Fran show, right?
of the original Precure?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, because we
you
have
might
the
be
art
right
book of
about that.
him.
We do? Is that the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The staff on the first Precure, I mean, they're interesting, but like, I don't think any of them have done like anything incredible.
I guess I was getting my wires crossed.
No, I said director first. I was being retarded because I always think about because I'm watching Park
Because
Catch.
the director of Crayon Kingdom was the one who had done the other shit that I told you about. So that's why
yes,
the confusion.
yeah. The staff is
Nishio Daisuke.
the
Air
director
Master,
of
3x3
3x3
eyes.
Eyes.
Pretty good.
Dr. Slump.
I've never seen the Dr. Man. He did Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, he
The
directed.
Dragon Ball
he he just is the Toei guy.
A Toei guy for sure, yeah.
No, he's the Toei guy. I mean, that's pretty dope. I'm gonna give it a fucking. I mean, it's
Do
not.
you
like...
even care? Just give it a 0. Like, you don't
I
know the
care.
staff. You had to look the guy up.
No, I like the character designer. I also
Okay,
like the
well,
voice
yeah.
actors.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 2. I think that I have a positive relationship. I'm also gonna be overly positive, I think, because
Well, you had not said any of those actual reasons you had. It seemed like you were just basing it on the director.
I don't know. I like the voice performances. I love the art director. Also, that guy in Toei is really cool and has done a lot of cool stuff. So I also am positive towards them.
Alright, so you
2
gotta
isn't
total
really
up
that
your
positive.
you gotta total up your meta score.
I think so. Should I put that in meta, right?
Yeah.
I really wish that I had used or saved the file differently so I could use character design. I love the character designs. I would give the character designs a fucking 10. I love
In the
them.
original Precure, interesting.
I absolutely, they animate so they're great. They're iconic. They're how could you disagree with them?
I love Pure White. Pure Black's hair is kind of like
She's
orange.
a lesbian. What the fuck?
It's kind of orange.
It makes sense for her personality.
Sure.
It makes sense. It's cute. There's a whole episode about a girl wanting to copy her hair, and she copies her hair.
I guess I
really
like the
cool.
character designs more than the colors, so if I had
Yeah,
to
I'm
dock my
gonna-
points, I'd do it there.
The colors, I would say.
It's got that early 2000s look. It's very unmistakable when it came out, you know.
Yeah, I would honestly give it a negative score for the colors. Give it like a -1. I just think it's like not a positive.
You know.
The backgrounds are not really that great either. I give this like a -5, honestly.
That bad, huh? That's pretty bad.
I'm thinking about some of the backgrounds, especially like the final fight and just like hell.
Yeah.
Hell. It's like I don't remember
no
these
thought was put
being
into
good
it.
at all.
Props. You
They're
definitely
great.
got
They're
props in
fucking
fucking
good
a
as
magical girl
shit.
show.
They are super. I
If
mean,
there was ever a case where
okay,
props
they
was
are
applicable.
cell phones, and it's kind of like confusing as to why, because they don't really seem to like use them for anything but to. I guess that also the mascots are kind of like a virtual pet in that they have to use their toy magical girl transforming device to feed and take care of the pet, which is I think really good, especially for the time. So yeah, they're just not my favorite, but I really like them and I think they're creative. But like the idea of them being cell phones is kind of like something that I'm kind of contentious with. Like in Hugto Precure it made sense because they had like the social media component of it, but I guess it's like a virtual pet and you could probably use them on flip phones, so I don't know. I'd probably give it a 5. They're good. The props are good. It's funny because like usually it's props is like what the fuck, but in Precure it's like I mean props is
Yeah.
the perfect definition for them.
Yeah.
But
Alright, so now you gotta calculate your art score, which is those. So it'd be 10 minus 1 is 9, minus 5 is 4, plus 5 is 9. So your art score is 9 divided by 4.
thought I hit that.
2.25.
Okay.
That seems about right for the first Precure.
It's 2.25.
Yeah.
Round it up. I'm sorry.
Animation flow.
The animation flow,
That's one of the good
especially in
things
the
about that
fight
show,
scenes,
right?
is really good. It's really interesting. I wouldn't say it's like perfect, but I would give it like a 9. It's definitely like.
I mean,
super
are you
cool.
only counting the fight scenes, or are you thinking like?
No, I'm talking about just in general. Just I think the flow is really good in Precure, but the consistency I wouldn't dock it on actually. I'd say like the consistency is probably like a negative 5 because it comes out every. Well, no, I'm gonna give it higher because I've seen versions of Precure where the consistency was lower, and it's like yeah, it definitely can be worse. I'm gonna probably give it a negative 2 on that.
That Toei consistency.
Yeah, I've definitely seen way worse though. But it's like it's not really that big of a problem.
Direction.
The direction.
Animation direction specifically.
Some of the fight scenes are really cool and creative. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Lighting and composition.
I'm gonna give it lighting.
Is
I don't
there
think it's
even
that
really
good.
lighting in
I
that
don't think
one?
it's
Yeah.
that good. I don't give it a 5. I always just I don't know why.
You're thinking
just,
fives.
I think in quarters, so like I'm not really gonna give things like, you know,
Yeah.
5 is like in the middle between like absolutely horrible and
Yeah.
I don't really even perceive it.
That's
And
why
then-
this chart is just
yeah.
like too in depth for you. It's just like, why would I even need this much? Like,
Absolutely, I don't know if I need to quantify it. I haven't seen it in a year, so
Right.
why am I gonna give it a more specific score? But yeah, if you can look at the chart, I just think in that
Yeah.
that way, I guess.
5 2s, 1s.
There's a couple
10s,
ones, but-
9. Composition. I mean, I think that's like a general strong point of Precure.
Oh, the composition?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, I'm definitely
Still
gonna give
not
that.
sure why that is considered animation and not part of art design.
I'm gonna give that like a 7. I think. Yeah.
Like, the composition would have been figured out in the storyboarding stage. So, like, that's really more of like a storyboard
Right.
score
Okay, I need
almost.
to add this up together, right? For animation.
Again, score every job on the show and it'll make a lot more sense. I'm telling you.
Right.
And every show should have its own chart based on the staff that show has. It's the only way you could make it like objective enough to like really be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So 17 divided by 5.
Okay.
3.4.
The mixing in Precure. The mixing in Precure, I don't even know. I leave that blank.
0 then. Variance in the music.
Yeah, I'd say the soundtrack's really great. I would give it probably like a 5. I think it's pretty good. I wouldn't say
For variance.
Yeah, like they can convey like lots of different tones and
OP
stuff.
and ED.
It's iconic, but I don't think it's great. The ED is good. I'd give it like a 2. I don't think it's like the best thing, but I do like it. The tone is good in Precure. I think that's like a really good thing about Precure actually. I give it like a 7. Integration. I would say that the team is pretty good at integrating. I don't want to say something that isn't true because when I listen to
if you don't
Precure,
care, then
I do it on the treadmill, so it's really hard for me to like tell if it's bad. You know, like the music is good, but the actual sound effects, like I can't really tell.
Well, it's
you
not
if
about sound effects. It's how well is the music integrated. Like how well is it used for like emotional moments and shit like that. Like does the music enhance the
Would it
experience
include
of the
sound
show?
effects though?
No, this is just music. He did not put a sound effect
But wouldn't
category
you
on his
include
chart.
it in?
He did not do that. The
No,
man
but-
did not
okay,
include
okay.
sound effects on the chart.
I would
There
say the
is no
integration
category
pretty good
for
then.
it.
I'd give it like a 5.
Okay. Next up is the fucking writing category.
This is where we're gonna see some.
Starting
things
with
get
the
knocked down.
narrative. So you got the plot.
It's pretty plain. No, I would have to give it a negative score on the plot. I have to give it like a negative 1.
Tone.
The tone is, it's hopeful and I think is really good for a magical girl show. And I would probably give it like a 3 on tone.
Pace.
I mean, it's all kind of self-contained stories, so it feels like the pace at which things in the narrative happen is basically as long as they can get away with not progressing the narrative, they won't.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's how all of. I mean,
Yeah,
they're designed to be
so-
50 episodes long. So.
I mean, I'm gonna give it a -5 because I think it's a
Negative.
hindrance. Honestly,
Progression. Same kind of thing.
the progression is like there is progression,
Yeah.
especially with the characters. It is definitely the progression is better than the pace, but it's not.
You don't have to take off points. I mean, I think it has progression. You know, you can argue that if you like the character arcs, that is a positive score. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I do. So I would probably give it a 1. I would give it a 1 for progression.
Derivation.
Oh, I have to give this like a negative. It's not as bad as other shows. I would give it like a -3. There are some episodes that are just like, why?
I think that's all the narrative ones, right? So
Yep.
now you gotta do
Narrative.
narrative. Yes.
-1.25.
2.5.
If you can tell, that's a 3 because I
I
barely.
can tell. That's
You
definitely.
just make a little bit.
That
of a
looks
bigger
like
butt.
just a
There
3
we go.
I would write.
Yeah, that's better now.
With my actual handwriting.
Okay.
Characters. That is now the subcategory, which has purpose, growth, consistency, and something else. So purpose of characters. I mean, the
I
whole show's
scored
about
characters
them, right?
though. Is that okay?
Oh, no, you didn't. That's OPED.
Okay.
Purpose.
And the characters.
Yes, the characters have strong purpose throughout the show.
What does that mean? They
Like-
they obviously have purpose as far
like,
as the narrative.
think about
is.
like
What is a bad
think
example?
about like
of purpose?
Pokemon, like season 3 of Pokemon, where Ash is just purposeless. Like, you know, like what is he doing in Pokemon Advanced Generation? Fucking
I
nothing.
mean,
He's
I
wandering
think-
around with
I
May.
think I'm gonna give it a 5. It
You
makes
know?
sense. I mean, that's a good point. Like, why are these characters interacting in this way? Like, who are
Yeah.
these people hanging around?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they think about it too much, but I don't think it's bad.
Mhm.
I'll probably give it like a 3. Like, you know, the people who are in the story make sense to be in the story. I think growth. Yeah, there's a lot of character growth, especially in the relationship between the two Kiras. It's really adorable, and then you also see like, you know, them kind of balance out each other's weaknesses and learn to like lean on each other. So I would give character growth a 10. I think that's like, dude, it's good shit. It's really like, because it's not too much of an emphasis on it, it makes you feel it even more.
Bang it, like chaos.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm gonna give it an 8 because I don't think it's like, I don't think it made me feel like it didn't inspire me. I guess it wasn't like, oh, these characters grew and I want to grow like them. I guess.
Consistency.
And the characters, I'd say that's pretty well done. I'd give it a 5. How-
Derivation. How unique are they?
They're really unique. I think they're pretty unique. The Pure White is kind of portrayed as like the you know the perfect girl in
She's like the
Japanese
scientist
society.
girl.
Yeah, she's a scientist, but she's a dork,
Yeah.
and I really like that about it. And the other girl plays the cross, and she kind of has like the main magical girl, like Precure, stupid, I don't do my homework,
Yeah.
rash kind of person, but also has a lot of strong points that I think are more unique, especially her like just dedication to her partner and some of the, I don't know, I would say that like especially in later seasons, like other characters
It's a
will
show
borrow
about a
off of
lexical
them.
thinker and an impressionistic thinker coming together
Oh my
to
gosh.
solve problems.
Yeah,
wow, just
I would-
like all of them
I would
are.
probably give it like they're pretty good. I wouldn't say the absolute, I would give it like a 8. No, yeah, I give it an 8. I'm giving it an 8. I think it's pretty good.
Alright, well that's your character score.
Okay.
Alright, so next is meta-narrative, which takes us down to the bottom. So we have internal consistency.
The problem I have with it is they are trying to present it like, oh, the moral you need to take away from these stories are you should be good girls, but then also make it like a lesbian fan service kind of thing.
Yeah, even in the first season.
Yeah. It's just kind of like they're teasing us.
What do you think? What is your is that
I don't know.
positive
I
or negative?
It's kind of the appeal, right?
The weird internal consistency of the show, the
Yeah.
schizophrenia of the show, so they give it a 5 or something. Like,
I don't really think it's like they're super shit together, but I don't know. You definitely could just watch it through the lens of shipping them together and it would be satisfying. And it's just like, is this
I'm sorry, I'm
consistent
getting, like, smoke all up in
with
your
the
face.
logic and logical progression? No, because they have to kind of just shoehorn in all this bullshit so they can make the plot even longer. So it's like, oh, we should just like go take out the bad guys or like do this, but we have to go do
They
this.
just make up bullshit to go do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be a negative score in that case.
I don't think it's as bad as in season 2, but yeah, I'm gonna give this like a -3. It's gonna just be the whole video is just gonna be jump cuts. It's 2 divided by 2, it's 1. I did it. I did a math.
There is no math. You gotta keep going.
What, there's
You're
more?
still in meta. This is all meta narrative. Everything from here on.
Why?
Tension.
How are you getting this out of that?
I understand the chart.
The breaks in it mean that you have to go down. I know,
Yeah.
but
So everything below meta narrative is
just
attached to
a
meta
lot.
narrative. It's just
I
a huge-
really do think a color
It could have been
coding
done.
would have been
I
done
mean,
better.
like he said, he's not a graphic designer. Like literally anybody could have done a better job of designing
It's funny,
this if
it's
they had
funny.
any sense of
Okay,
intuition
the
at all.
tension in Precure, there is none. There's no tension in Precure. What kind of fucking tension is in Precure? The guy does kind of like, I don't know, the bad guys kind of like go bye-bye. Is that tense? I don't think it really is. I'm gonna give this like a -5. Catharsis?
I mean,
Sure.
I feel like how amped do you get for the magical girl transformation scene every episode? Do you feel
But
like
is that catharsis though?
do you feel catharsis from it, or do you feel drained by it? Because I usually feel drained by them by like episode 8.
It's kind of like, for me, I'm running while I'm
Yeah.
watching it, so like it's really hard for me to.
Do you feel at the end of the episode like yeah, or do you just feel like whatever?
I do,
you know?
but I think
That's
just because I'm
catharsis.
running.
Well, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I mean,
I
you
don't
wouldn't
know.
watch it
I
in
think-
another context.
No, and I think I would.
You're
be like, I
rating
don't
the
wanna watch this
experience you had
anymore.
with the show more
Right,
so than the show
okay.
itself, I think, you know.
Which
I mean,
is-
you could consider that meta, but the meta category didn't really have anything to account for
I would
that.
give
I
this like a
guess
6.
history,
I feel
maybe.
like that's a complex, kind of feeling I have towards it. Nuance. What nuance?
Nuance.
What fucking nuance is in Precure?
Nuance.
Fucking -5. What kind
Oh,
of?
is it that bad? Is it like affect your experience?
What?
that
No,
much?
it's just fucking. There's no nuance. It's a kid's show.
I know, but like, does it affect your experience? Like, do you care that there's no nuance?
I
Does
mean,
that
it's
bother
not
you?
my favorite show in the world because there's no nuance.
Okay, so that is a negative.
Yeah,
in your
absolutely.
opinion.
There's
Alright.
not enough going
Complexity.
on.
I would
The
have to imagine that
complexity
also is.
it's kind of like they add new power-ups. There's like a powering leveling system. I think that's fairly complex. Especially if they change their outfit. The structure of the team of villains is often complex in that there's underlings and then guys who are even more powerful, you know? Their powers are not, I mean, I would say it's like a 1. I give it like a 1 on complexity.
Okay.
It's like more complex than like
But
other.
not at all.
Yeah, and I
Just
would say
enough
it's,
to be somewhat interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Theming.
10. It's fucking, the themes are be good.
Okay. So
Be good.
So it's 9 divided by 6. One point
1.5.
five. characters, meta narrative, and narrative to get our full writing score.
Okay.
So that would be 7.5. What's the narrative score?
It's negative 1.3.
Fucking decimals, man. So that would be. What did I say? I said 7.5 minus 1.3 equals 6.2. So 6.2 is or 6.2 divided by 3. So much.
2.1. Where do I write that?
On writing. Wherever that was. Alright, now we gotta add these four together. So break out the calculator because they're awful specific. Yeah, 2.1.
Isn't that 2.3?
You just wrote 2.1 on the writing category.
Oh, okay. You're going right from left.
2.1 plus 4.8 plus 3.4 plus 2.3 equals divided by 4 equals 3.15.
No, it wasn't 3.3.
Yep. And then you add the 3.2 and the 5.7.
So it'd be 8.9.
Yep. And then you divide that by 2 and you get your final score.
4.5.
So what does that translate to on the Mal chart? 5.
8.
An 8.
That's what I scored it.
You did score it at 8?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm gonna check right now, but I'm pretty sure I scored it.
Oh, you gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7.
So you actually gave it a higher score because of the meta elements being scored so high. You gave it an 8. So that means that
It's a high 7.
it just kind of suggests that you care more about the show than you do think it is good.
Yeah.
And that on your Mal score, you were actually...
That's absolutely
your Mal
accurate.
score was actually truer to how good you think the show is than how much you care about it, which is really funny.
Yeah. I definitely...
Because I feel like that's the inverse of what Ash expects from this chart.
Yeah.
But because of the fact, because he kind of put the meta element in there and said that, like, for him it usually isn't very high, but that he knows there are people who would, like, that would be, like, the bigger thing, because it is kind of, like, basically just your emotional involvement.
For me, though, I don't
you know?
configure really the meta element into my score, because I don't think it's that valuable.
Well...
I mean, it is inherently... I mean,
what is the value
biased,
of your Mal
you know?
other than to represent your tastes accurately? Like, what is the purpose of giving a score on Mal?
I agree, but I
that?
really do figure, like, I find that the fact that I have a more positive take on the meta narrative
if somebody,
of the show,
let me put
it will make me
let me
score
put it
it
to you this
higher.
way: if somebody came to your My Anime list and saw that you gave Futari wa Precure a 7, they would probably think that your impression of it was that it was just okay. Probably just like, oh, you watched it because it's the first one.
No, a 7's
But,
good.
like,
A 7 is a good score on my list.
That's not how most people would think.
No,
though.
I know, but if
Like,
they
if you
went
gave
on
it
my list, they would
if
see
you
that
gave
most
Futari
things
wa
are...
Precure an 8, the message it would send is like, I respect this show even if I know it has flaws, you know. And I think that's closer to what you really feel than what people would perceive from a 7. Like, I think an 8 would be closer. Like, if people saw an 8, it would be closer to what you intend for your, like, impression of the show to be than what people would assume if you gave it a 7. Just like based on like, because there's no point to any of this other than showing other people
only in, like,
how
the
you
early
feel about
8s
things.
on what Ash has it scored, and I would put it like on the high end of the 7. I would put it here. So it's not like there's not a lot of.
I mean, for me, a high
deviation,
7,
honestly.
I rate an 8 on.
It's
now.
kind of like it really is kind of just like on this border, but I really would put it more
Like,
on this side.
Anything I would give a 7.5 or above, I mark as an 8 on Mal. Anything I would give, like, it always goes, I always round up, you know, because, like, my scores go, you know, through decimal points, but, like, to me, it makes more sense to group a 3.5 and a 4.4 in the same category than it does to put a 3.1 and a 3.9 in the same category, you know, where it's like, you know, well, 1 is much closer to being a 4, so it should just be a 4. So, like, to me, a high 7 is an 8 in the way I would score it on Mal.
No, I mean, I just don't think it's high enough of a high 7.
So would you give it like a 7.4? Because that would be what I would... If for it to be a 7, it would have to be a 7.4
like
or less.
7.6.
Because that to me would be
Because
marked
for
as an
me,
8
that's
on
still a
Mal.
7. Because I wouldn't do it unless it was like a 7.8, and then I'd round up. But I
Okay.
don't give it a specific score because I don't feel like that is valuable.
So
to
to
me.
you, those last
It
2
is a
points are
7.
just like worth more emotionally than the other.
But I don't
That's
score it
below.
that specifically. If I felt like, oh, I don't really know if I can give this an 8, I'll think about, well, what have I given an 8?
So
what
do
are my
you-
problems
Do
with
you
it?
think that this
Okay.
gave you a less accurate score than you already had? Do you feel
Yes.
more confident in your 7
Yes.
than you were in this 8?
Yes. I like it a lot, and I think giving it a 7, you could still like it a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely, there are problems with it, and I probably wouldn't jump to at the chance of watching it again. Other seasons of Precure, absolutely. Fresh Precure, I would probably watch again. I'd give that like an 8. I'm pretty sure I'd give that an 8.
Yo,
But
I never
I
had this
wouldn't, I'm not
before.
excited to.
They're not paying me, but they should.
Propel water.
Because I like it.
You can go get some more if you're still
They should
thirsty.
pay me.